Welcome back, everyone. Well, I don't need to tell you if you live in the area that the North Country in particular is really, really coming into its own. And lately, some of the interviews we've been doing, you've heard me mention the 365 initiative, meaning that, in July, we don't need to worry too much about people coming to the area, visiting the area, but 12 months a year, 365 days a year, what could we do as a community to promote more visits to the area, more tourism, and more activities? Well, joining me today are two people who are going to be very responsible for that initiative. Kristen Hanifin, who is the CVB Director for the Glens Falls Chamber. Welcome, Kristen.
Thank you very much. Actually, Lake George Regional Chamber of Commerce and Convention Visitors Bureau.
Oh, okay, good. Like I would remember that. And Jeff Mead, a frequent guest here, is the General Manager of the Civic Center in Glens Falls. Do you want to correct me or anything?
No, that was perfect, Jesse.
Okay, good.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome, both of you. You know what, Kristen? I want to start with you. I've talked to, like I said, a bunch of people about this initiative. Mm-hmm. This is something that you really spearheaded. You joined the chamber about 10 months ago, and about 9 months ago, you went knocking on the door and said, I got an idea, right?
I did, actually. We came forth, and one of the things that's really a big initiative for us is going after the sports market, sports tourism market. Mm-hmm. It is a growing industry across the U.S. It's about a $10.47 billion industry across the U.S. in economic impact. Mm-hmm. So looking at it globally from where we stand and how we can really try and foster some new economic drivers for our area, not just in our summer months, as you mentioned before, but also, in those fall and winter and spring months, people play sports year-round, kids play sports year-round. So really we're looking at these opportunities to try and bring some new people, some new attendees into the area.
They often say that sports is recession-proof. And that, regardless of what the economy is doing, and also I think sort of the drive over the last 5 or 6 years to do staycations, right? Mm-hmm. To stay within the region, but youth sports in particular, where the whole family is involved to see little Billy or Susie,
absolutely
succeed and excel. That's actually become a real growth area, right?
It is, and actually, in the CVB and in our area, we're talking about what's called Sportcations, and Sportcations are really that thing where you are a family and you're going out there and you're going to your Bobby or Susie's tournament. Like you said, you're going to spend the weekend there, and so you come, let's say, to the Lake George region, whether Glens Falls, and you have an extra 3 or 4 days, or you're going to go out to the fields and you want to do something else. Mm-hmm. So you're impacting the hotels, you're impacting the restaurants. Maybe you go take an attraction, you go to the Six Flags. And so in looking at this, and the CVB is looking at this, we say, we really are that perfect sportcation destination. Mm-hmm. We have over 9,000 rooms. We have, over 200 attractions and opportunities. And as families are going out and they're spending, upwards of $900 to $1,000 on tournament weekends, for us, we realize that this is truly an amazing economic driver for our area.
Yes, right, sure.
So again, we look at this and we say, how can we work with these folks? How can we attract these folks, have them come into the off-season months as well as July and August and those heavy months as well. And the other thing too is that, people don't have a lot of time. So if the parents are going to Bobby and Susie's tournaments, they don't have the extra income, they don't have the extra time, so they're building those extra days in the beginning and the end and making it that family vacation, that sportcation.
Right, a wonderful way for the family to connect, right?
Exactly.
Jeff, obviously as a general manager for the driver of an initiative like this, the Civic Center, what interests you about this?
Well, any time we can bring in an event for 3, 4, 5 days to the Civic Center, as Kristen said, people stay in hotels, they eat at our restaurants. It's good for the community, but it's also good for our building or any other local building in the same venue. So we're excited always to bring in an event, new revenue for our building and certainly for our community.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I've heard it said that we've got 9,000 plus rooms. We have all of the facilities. We have wonderful buildings like the Civic Center and the Dome, right? Mm-hmm. You've got wonderful tracks, we have wonderful lakes, we have wonderful mountains. Well, all of that really lends itself to making this kind of initiative successful. Now let's talk about the process. This can be very complicated. You hear the phrase herding cats. I'm sure that applies in a lot of ways. But you're putting together, I guess the goal would be to put together a committee, right?
It is. In looking at this this marketplace, working with folks like Jeff and other venues, the Sportsplex Dome up there, the Golden Goal facility, the mountains.
Sure.
It really made sense for us to sort of start pulling people together. And so right now we're working on, and again, spearheaded through the CVB initiative. We're trying to really pull these folks together and let's have some conversations. Let's perhaps build an advisory board at this point. We've been talking about creating a sports commission. There's other sports commissions across the entire state that are developed, and some are just advisory boards, some are actually set in place. So we're in the third or fourth meetings phase of this group, and we are looking at ways in which we can grow this market. How do we work together? How do we find the resources? And what do we want it to look like?
Yeah, sure.
So it is still research, it's still early, but it has a tremendous amount of potential, and so therefore we will continue to move forward. We'll continue to work with Jeff and with the other folks in the area, and really, figure out how is it going to create that great economic impact, and how do we get more events to come to the area? What are the processes needed? How do we afford bid fees that are associated with some of these larger events? The NCAA is the AAU tournaments, things like that. Which do have an upwards of $2,000 up to $50,000 worth of bid fees associated. So pulling everybody together, bringing them together as a community, and finding the resources, the financial resources to do this, are all part of that process. So again, a little bit of research, a little bit more homework to do, a lot more talking, but I think it's going to move forward really well. It's just going to take some time.
Well, we're at the beginning stages of this, and as you can probably tell from listening to Kristen, so what do you do when you rest? Do you jump in place? I'm trying to figure out. You are so dedicated to this, I can tell.
People laugh. I actually have two teens, both involved in sports very heavily, lacrosse, soccer, basketball, and football, and if I'm not on a field or a court, I'm working and vice versa. So I am this deep in my sports.
Well, that's great, and I think that also the process that you're following, talking to other commissions, forming advisory boards and whatever. So look, get involved. We're at the beginning stages of this. A lot of work to be done. It doesn't happen overnight, which I think is very important. People get antsy, but this does not happen overnight. But what a great way to take us from being a summer destination to 365. Well, Kristen, very nice to meet you. Thank you for coming in. Jeff, great to see you as always. I want you to come back and tell us what's coming up for the fall and the summer, okay? All right, great. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks so much, Jesse. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. To see this interview again, you can head to our website, looktvonline.com.
Look Outreach is underwritten by the generous support of Munter Enterprises. Family owned and operated since 1972, integrity is important, as our family name is on every project. Our word is our bond. Munter Enterprises. Just build it.